Welcome in, everyone, to Picks and Parlays Bettors Edge. We've got NFL Week 10. I'm Hannah Mears. That's Craig Trapp of Picks and Parlays and Andrew Fillipponi of FanDuel. More ways to win radio. Guys, it's getting interesting at this point, especially when we have to look at this game, Colts and Patriots, to start off in Germany. There's been a ton of international games, which is great for fans overseas. However, not sure what toll this is going to take and how they're going to evaluate this of the players after the season. Not an electric game, I would predict by any means. But coming into this one, when the Colts are the favorite, can Bill Belichick get it done with the Patriots overseas, Pony?
This is your team. With me
this is your team. You're the Patriots ambassador like this year.
Team. Yeah, and they've cost me a lot of money this year, and I've given out a lot of bad picks regarding the Patriots on the show. So why the heck not just continue to advocate for them? I will in this game. There's a Boston Globe report out there that if Belichick doesn't win this game, he's going to get fired. And he's not going to continue on as coach, and they're going to promote one of his assistants as head coach. This is not made up, folks. It's a real thing. And when you have two teams that are relatively even now, with that at stake for New England, we know Indy's playing Minshew, who's done an admirable job, but they did win last week against Carolina because there were 2 pick sixes for touchdowns. Man, with a neutral site game overseas with so much different prep to it, if Belichick doesn't win this game, then yeah, even I will say I'm out and I'm done with them. So I'm going to take them on the money line one last time to win. One
last finale with the Pony, the Patriots, and Bill Belichick. Craig, can you agree with that, or did you sort of like what you saw from the Colts last week?
What happened to your old, you don't make money betting against Belichick? I've gone to that all year, Craig, and I'm almost bankrupt now.
It has done well for, 2 decades? It has not worked this year. I'm off. I'm off the ship. The Titanic's going down. I'm jumping off and trying to swim to shore. I'm going to take the Colts. I just think there's more upside here. There's this pressure now because of the narrative that Belichick might lose his job. And it's just not the best talented team, especially on offense for the Patriots. And they're banged up on defense. The Colts defense has been playing a little better, even though they've got some weird scores because they've given up some special teams. Their offense has given up some touchdowns. I think this is the week, though. The Colts get it right, win, and maybe Belichick gets fired.
But they don't have to be as explosive offensively against a team like the Patriots to win, unfortunately, is the narrative that we've been seeing this season. I'm on the Colts as well. I'm going to pick the Colts money line. Colts straight up. The Patriots are supposed to be able to rely on a defense right now. With their offensive struggles, their team's only scoring 14 points per game. Well, this so-called great defense is giving up 26 points per game right now. This is bad news for the Patriots, written all over it with a Colts team who might have found some momentum. And like it or not, the Colts have actually just shown glimpses of hope, more so than the Patriots have this season. I have to ride with this team. I'm no longer on the train, I'm sorry, Pony, of Belichick and what he can do. I really do think that there's just too much going wrong with this team. This line also opened with the Patriots as a favorite, and now they're sort of at a pick-em with it in favor of the Colts. So I have to go with the Colts on the money line in this one. Another interesting storyline that we have to look at, when you look at the 49ers and Brock Purdy, he's finally looked human this season. And maybe that's because Debo has been hurt. Is he only good when there's good weapons around him? Is Trevor Lawrence going to be the quarterback that we continue to talk about this season as a Super Bowl contender? Craig, when you look at this game, who do you think, what quarterback's going to rise to the occasion when you think of the 49ers still a 3-point favorite? They're both coming off bye weeks as well, so keep that in mind.
Yeah, it's tough because the 49ers, first 3 or 4 weeks, I thought they were the Super Bowl favorite, to be very honest. I mean, they were great on defense. They were explosive on offense, both passing and running game. Then you get some injuries, just like any team in the NFL, and how you deal with it. Young quarterback, like you said, Debo being out, offensive line being banged up. They still were running the ball. I thought they should have ran the ball more. I think this is going to be a low-scoring game, so when you give me 3 points, I think the 49ers could win and not cover. That's just this type of game. So I'm going to take the Jags plus the points here. I think it's going to be a great game, though.
I had the same exact reasoning as you did as to why I'm taking the Jaguars at +3 at home as well. Both of these teams coming off of a bye, but the Jaguars are bringing in some momentum. Saw Trevor Lawrence on the Manning cast the other week, looked relatively calm, cool, and collected about his swagger with how he's been leading his team right now. The one thing Trevor Lawrence is going to have to watch out for is turning the ball over. I think he's fumbling the ball the second most in the NFL right now, so he needs to be careful and protect the ball against the Niners defense. But when you have those things in mind at this point in the season, and you're as good as what Trevor Lawrence is, he's going to go through that checklist and say, we can do A, B, and C, and we can beat this team. They look vulnerable, and I think they can do that. When you break down the yardage, the Jaguars, we know, aren't good against the pass. That means they're going to do everything that they can to stop Christian McCaffrey in the run, and they're going to put a lot of their emphasis then on making sure Brock Purdy is forced into situations. I think they'll lay their eggs in the basket of forcing Brock Purdy into situations and making him make the throws down the field. So I'm going to say that leads me to then believe it's a quarterback battle, and I'll pick Trevor Lawrence and side with him in this one. What do you think, Pony?
I think it's a gut check game for San Francisco. I think they need this game a lot more than Jacksonville. The Jags are in a position now with their long winning streak since they went over to London. Not to say they're going to coast to a division title because Houston's lurking with C.J. Stroud, but they're in the catbird seat. They're in the driver's seat. They've taken care of their business. San Francisco's on the other end of things where they've lost 3 in a row. They make the Chase Young trade to try to get more pass rush. I like the matchup of their front 7 against Jacksonville's offensive line. And Hannah made a good point about Jacksonville's pass defense being vulnerable here. I think that involves Christian McCaffrey in the passing game. I think the week off getting healthy is going to make a big difference for their weapons. And this is really the first time all year where I felt like you get the 49ers as a value bet. Most of their lines are huge favorites. It's inflated. Here it's 3. It's not 3.5. It's not 4. And for that reason, I'm going to go with the tried and true team, the tested team in San Francisco to win -3.
Yeah, it could be a win and not cover game, though. What Craig said, I'm standing by that. I think it's going to be a close game as well. Something else that could end up being close, though, is this Lions and Chargers game. These two teams, the Lions, man, they're a team that I feel like everyone in the NFL just roots for. You want them to grit it out. You want them to get it. This is a position where I feel like they need to win. They need to get the win over Justin Herbert, especially Jared Goff. He needs this win, in my opinion. He's been great this season, averaging 271 passing yards per game. He's got great offensive weapons. Do you think that's going to be enough, though, Pony, for Detroit? Do you think in this one?
Craig, I think your Chargers are coming on here, man. And it was ugly against the Jets offensively, but you get out of there against a really good defense in prime time, and what you ended up having was a Zach Wilson game where that Chargers defense ended up stealing the show, right? I think this is an opportunity for LA to get hot, and I like them here. They don't get a home field advantage. There's going to be a ton of Lions fans there. They're going to travel and turn it into a neutral site game, but Eckler's healthy now. Allen has found a rhythm with Herbert. Their offensive line is stabilized somewhat. They didn't get Herbert killed in that Jets game. And look, the last time I saw the Lions on the road, they got dismantled and torn apart by Baltimore. And to be honest with you, I really wasn't that impressed with the Raiders game. I mean, they won that game in part because Garoppolo couldn't hit Devontae Adams when he was wide open, and apparently the team wanted to kill Josh McDaniels. So right now I'm going to take the Chargers on the money line to win this game at home against Detroit. I think your pick from the preseason, they're going to get hot here, Hannah, and make the playoffs.
I had a similar feel. There's so much of me that wanted to take the Lions money line because of what Jared Goff's been able to do and because of his offensive weapons and because we love the storyline of the Lions. However, I do see some glimmer of hope now with Justin Herbert and the Chargers, and I think that +2.5 is probably where I'm going to look. I'll take the Chargers with that at +2.5. I think Keenan Allen has looked like an explosive weapon. He's been really hard to stop. Like you said, Eckler being back. I just think this frees up their offense a bit. And to get back into Craig's conversation here, they need these types of wins against good teams at this point. What do you think? Can they do it?
I'm jumping the ship. I'm jumping off. The Chargers team, and here's why. I watched that game against the Jets. Let's remember, they returned a punt for a touchdown. If you don't do that, they might not win that game. I mean, they got up 14-0 and then just couldn't do anything. I know that Jets defense is good. I think the Lions defense is pretty good. I thought they did really well against the Raiders. Now, yeah, Garoppolo was terrible. I mean, missed 2 what probably would have been touchdowns. And the Lions, missed? They went for it once. They should have probably kicked a field goal. Then they missed a field goal to look like the back door was open on the cover. I just think this Lions team, they needed that bye. They really did. They were limping a little bit. I think they're going to come out and be ready to go. And like you said, when Lions in LA, there's going to be maybe not half the Lions fans, but it's going to sound that way because these Lions fans have had a lot to cheer for out west. Now they do. Give me the Lions here minus the points. I think this is a statement game for the Lions. And the Lions, if they win this game, you look at their division, I mean, it would be hard-pressed not for them to make the playoffs.
Yeah, there was so much in me that wants to take the Lions money line in that game. It could be like a last-minute swing, but at the moment, I'll trust Justin Herbert in this one. When you look at Giants and Cowboys, though, listen, the Giants are in a heap of trouble when it comes to quarterback. They looked really bad, even worse than what they have and what we anticipated them to be this season. This line is huge, though, at 16.5. So do you like looking at the Cowboys in this situation, or are you saying this is just way too big for a Cowboys team that has been a little inconsistent at times?
You don't lay double digits in the NFL and make money, and you definitely don't lay 16.5 points. And this line isn't going to end at 16.5. I would wait. I would take the Giants. I would wait till it gets to 17 or 17.5. The uglier the game, the worse you think. Like, there's no way the Giants are going to win. That's the way in the NFL you make money. You bet that team that you think has no chance and that everybody's against. Everybody's going to be on, the Giants on third string quarterback. Listen, this is the NFL. Guys figure it out. I think the Giants defense has actually been a little better than people give them credit for. I mean, they should have won the Jets game. Basically, the defense winning that game. If they win that game, I mean, who knows where we are. But I like the Giants in the spot getting, like I said, I wouldn't take a 16.5. I would wait till 17 because I definitely think we're going to get there.
I could foresee, though, the Cowboys with the ball a lot in this one is what I'm going to predict. There's a line out there that I saw right now, or a prop bet, I should say, of CeeDee Lamb and his receiving yards. Why this is interesting to me is this is sitting at 79.5 receiving yards because of what he did last week. When you look back at the game, Week 1 with the Giants and Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb had 4 receptions for 77 yards. He only needed 4 to get really close to that number where it's sitting at right now. The last 2 games, he's had double-digit receptions, 16 targets last game. He is coming on hot. We've seen the 4 games with well over 100 yards. I think you're getting this at a really good value. If you can find this number as low and as quickly as you can, get it at the 79.5. I think that's who Dak is comfortable with right now. He's looked hard to stop. Everyone's going into this game knowing we need to stop CeeDee Lamb. Will they be able to? I don't think so, at least not at this number. That's going to be my best bet of the week, is looking at CeeDee Lamb over 79.5 receiving yards. Pony, when you look at this game, though, you like props, you like sides, you like totals. We're giving you it all here.
Yeah, I'm going to just make a side wager here on the Giants, and it's not easy when you look at the Giants depth chart at quarterback and see Tommy DeVito staring back at you, a guy that had the transfer from Syracuse to Illinois and then somehow made it onto the Giants practice squad because Daniel Jones is out for the year, and Tyrod Taylor had a really scary injury a couple of weeks ago. So that's where you're at. But we've already seen the Cowboys this year lay down against the Cardinals and lose outright against a team with only 1 win on the season. And I anticipate here that they'll screw around in this game. I just don't have any faith that the Cowboys have a business-like approach in this game and win something like 28-3, some lopsided score like that. I'm with Craig. I think the Giants blitzing will keep them in the game. I anticipate some Cowboys turnovers, and they'll win. But we see teams all the time that get this many points. Some of them even win in the NFL. Urban Meyer is a 16.5-point underdog, beat the Bills a couple of years ago in a spot like this. And so I'm going to take the Giants. Yeah,
and they're all pros. That's what you got to remember. It's like, yes, the quarterback is an issue. But 17-point issue? I don't think so.
It seems like one of those games where Stephen A. is going to be on First Take, laughing at the Cowboys again and what they can do. Yeah. All right, when we look at the Sunday Night Football game, this is the game where everybody's looking to the NFL saying, can we please flex some games here? The Jets and the Raiders are what we're looking at for Sunday Night Football. Aiden O'Connell now will have a huge task against the Jets defense. Can he handle it?
Well, the game's on the road. It's in Vegas, so I think that helps because the Jets' defense, particularly at home, we've seen it against the Chiefs and against the Eagles, against the Chargers last week. I mean, they really show up and play. Yep. But there's got to be a level of frustration with Zach Wilson now because, the guy did make some throws in the Kansas City game and even the Philadelphia game. There were moments, but I think he's regressed again. I think he's back to being a bottom-of-the-barrel quarterback. And look, maybe it's fleeting. Maybe it doesn't carry them for the rest of the season. But there's obviously very apparent that there's a culture change in Vegas with the Josh McDaniels firing. And those guys have bought back in. And I watched O'Connell in the preseason. He's not a mobile quarterback, but he goes with the right reads. He's a pretty calm, composed player. And I actually think the Raiders have the quarterback advantage in this game. So I'm going to take them on the money line to beat the Jets.
I could see that being a smart play. I think you can name a bunch of reasons as to why you can take the Raiders here. I'm looking at the under in this game, though. I think it's going to be a really sloppy, low-scoring game. You can still have faith in the Raiders to win like 20-14 if you want, and the under would still hit. It is a low total sitting at 36.5, but I don't foresee, when we look at what the Jets have done, being able to compete. The Raiders don't let last game jade you completely, and if you want to say this is the renaissance of the Raiders, fine, but they only scored more than 20 points once this season before last week's game, so I don't know if they'll be able to do that a couple of weeks in a row and make this a high-scoring affair. I think these teams will both try to run the ball a bit, so I'm going to go ahead and say the under 36.5, especially when you look at that stat. Not a single Raiders receiver had over 4 receptions last week. So I think they're going to run the ball. I think they're going to make sure Aiden O'Connell, when he is throwing the ball, like you said, it's the right throw, it's the smart throw, but I don't think we're going to see anything too electrifying just yet. Craig, what about you?
Yeah, I like the Raiders here. I think they're playing, for Pierce, like the new coach. I think they were his biggest, advocate for him to get this job. Crosby is a game wrecker, and Zach Wilson's one of those guys that looks scared when he just doesn't have pressure. Imagine what Crosby's going to be doing, he running him down. I think they don't run the ball. The Jets, I thought, would be able to run the ball this year. They have not been able to run the ball. The Raiders are trying to find that run game with Josh Jacobs. I think they'll, at home, be enough here. Give me the Raiders to win outright.
All right, when we look at best bets of the week, you guys know mine. I'm looking at CeeDee Lamb, and I'm paying close attention to what that receiving prop's going to be because I think you're getting it at a really good value right now. Craig, we know we can go to Picks and Parlays to the app, download it, get your best bets, but what one will you give out on this show?
I got 2, so you can get the other one over at the app, but I just love the Lions. I know early in the year I was on the Chargers. Sometimes you got to know when you're wrong.
Yeah.
And I was wrong on the Chargers.
I haven't learned that lesson with New England yet, by the way.
Like, I was wrong. The Chargers can't pass the ball. Like, they have one receiver that can get open. Rest of these guys just can't get open, and their defense isn't as good as I thought. The Lions' defense is better. I think the offense is even better than I thought. I was actually on an under, so I was wrong on both these teams. I was under on the Lions, over on the win totals, over on the Chargers. I actually think the Lions are going to go over and the Chargers are going to go under, so I was wrong on both. But I'm going to be right on this one. Take the Lions minus points here.
He's a good man admitting when he's wrong.
Sometimes
there, Pony. What's your best bet this week?
I actually like a season-long prop. I was just looking at this before we came on the air. Sorry, Craig, for this pick. I think there's a good chance that Houston goes into Cincinnati and wins this week. I like what the Texans are doing. Stroud is having a season for the ages at quarterback, what he did last week, setting the single-game record, 14 touchdowns, 1 interception. You can get them at plus 250 to make the playoffs. They're 4-4 right now. If they upset Cincinnati, they get to 5-4. And when you look at their remaining schedule, they're playing a last-place schedule in that division. I don't foresee them leapfrogging or passing Jacksonville, but look at the Bills' remaining schedule. Look at Cincinnati's remaining schedule. Look at the Steelers' offensive problems, the Browns' issues with Deshaun Watson. Craig just talked about the Chargers. I'm just saying, plus 250, I think that they're closer to an even money proposition to make the playoffs with the schedule they have. I think Houston gets to 10 wins if they win this week. I think if they lose, there's still a path to get to 9, and 9 can get you in. Remember, they've already got the tiebreaker on Pittsburgh, Hannah, because they beat them head-to-head.
Love that prop. I love that bet. I would go in and look at that future for sure right now and put money on it, especially because C.J. Stroud looked like he finally found his guy in Tank Dell last week, too. They looked like a hot connection there, those rookies together. So I like that bet, Pony. Thanks for enlightening us here. Why don't you like that? Why are you shaking your head?
I think the AFC North is probably getting 3 teams in. I mean, you look at the schedule, you're right. You look at the schedule and you're like, oh, how they're just good teams. All the teams,
but they're going to have to start to play each other.
When you come down in the stretch, though, when we always talk about playoffs, we talk about quarterbacks, and right now I would take C.J. Stroud over Deshaun Watson.
Well, but I think they're going to have to win the division, and I just don't think they're good enough to beat Jacksonville. Or, like if you look at it right now, Jacksonville.
They already beat them once.
They got
in
the
Jacksonville.
jump on them on the schedule at this point as far as the records. And I think that is why Stroud has been unbelievable. And I hate Ohio State. So when I say an Ohio State player.
All right, there's the reason.
When
there
it is. When I say Ohio State player is great, he's great, because otherwise I would say he's trash. But
there's the reason Craig can't get in. I still think it has some value there, Pony. No bias against Ohio State over here, surprisingly. From where? Penn State. Okay, that is Picks and Parlays Week 10 for the NFL. For more, download the new Picks and Parlays app. We will see you next week.